Might help if I take the lens off. Alrighty, we got Mr. Chainsaw's 5-pill here. I see this every once in a while when people send me amps. People are writing stuff in their amp like this right here. Oh boy, let's see, we got Crazy Dave written right here. Chainsaw built and tuned by Crazy Dave. Which I don't know what. About the only tuning I can see that was actually done to the amp was possibly on the input right here, which was fine. I thought about getting in there and maybe touching it up a little bit, but it's purely acceptable. This is one thing that can throw you off, is these two resistors right here, which are fine. I mean, this amp is a beast. It's good to have these. Sometimes when you use a all 2879 5-pill, you don't need these. It's just all about how the amp's working. But the only problem about this is when you're looking at the input reflect, that input reflect is also being attenuated through these resistors back to your meter. Okay, so that's why it's best to take these off, then tune the amplifier, then put them back on. Or tune the amplifier and put them on. Because you can sit there and have 2 watts of reflect, but it's been attenuated and it's giving you a false reading. But I took it off and took a look at it, and it's fine. A little bit high on the capacitance on the input there, but it can change from amp to amp. I've seen it anywhere from 80 picofarad up to, this is a 160 out there on the input. A lot of that can have to do with the ferrite being used and the length of wire, the impedance of the mini coax, velocity factor. There's a lot of things that comes into play with that. But anyway, brother, you had a transistor taped to the top of the amplifier, which came out of right here, and I checked that transistor and it was fine, so I put it back in. I saw that we wasn't getting any output at all, so I went ahead and checked each 2 transistor section with the whole amplifier hooked up and still was not getting any output. So then that pretty much let me know that we probably had an issue with the driver. So I went ahead and hiked that up. Got my little leader line here, my little testy leader line. Gosh, these comes in handy. And we bypassed the 4 transistor section here and found out there was no output in the 1-pill section. So it was blown. It was blown from the collector to emitter junction. Excuse me, base to emitter junction. So yes, it was overdriven. A lot of times when you overdrive a single transistor like that, the 10 ohm down here will not blow. But anyway, so I went ahead and dropped you another Toshiba down there, good health. Kind of low on HFE, but very great health. It's working great. And I went ahead and put you a feedback circuit on here. It ain't something you got to have, but I like putting feedback circuits on my driver section, my single transistor driver sections. Okay, I went across here and made a couple of touch-ups on some solder. There were a couple of places. There were 1 or 2 cold solder joints. There was a cold joint right here on this wire going to the switch. There's a couple of places on here I went ahead and touched up, like on the ground wires of the windings right here to ground. Touched up on the transistors, tightened up all the screws. Another thing I went ahead and did is I touched up this solder right here on this case ground, your secondary ground, which and another thing I went ahead and did is added you a ground to your plug back here, which is always be handy if this thing ever gets loose or anything, so you'll still have a ground for your LED or a wireless remote. This right here is not mounted down, but I'm not going to worry about it. 9 times out of 10 I'll unsolder everything and mount it down, but the only reason I'm not going to worry about it because you've got everything right here tied down, keeping this relay snug. Of course it's moving from the back, but it's good and snug and it's not going to be going anywhere, so I'm going to leave that be. That's fine. There's no sense in the fixing something that ain't broken. So anyway, and I noticed this right here coming out the back. I'm gonna take a wild guess you had this going to your ignition maybe or something, or some sort of external power source to turn the amp on and off, which you don't have to have this, but I see you went ahead and ran it, or somebody did. You know, you got your stereo plug that you can use with this to turn everything on and off. But anyway, to each his own. If you're going to use this, I would suggest putting a fuse in line on the other side going wherever it's going. But it's always a very good idea to do that. I always like to put fuses on all my wireless remotes. It's even a good idea to put fuses on your wired remotes. Anytime you got a wire leaving somewhere, it's always good to put a fuse on it. So anyway, man, we got this thing up and running for you. This thing is actually blowing smoke, man. We just got the 4-watt radio hooked up to it now. I got it on the unregulated supply, actually on the medium tap. I don't even got it on the high tap, and it's already almost busting a kilowatt up in here. 1,000-watt slug. This is PEP. That's 900 watts. RMS, 1,000-watt slug. RMS. It's about 350 RMS. Take a look at the dead key. Just squilling there because my radio's down there. See, hardly no dead key at all. That is due to this right here, of course, which is good if you're going to be running a higher dead key. And that is on 13.9 volts. Input reflect, 5-watt slug. Hardly none. I'm going to go ahead and flip it on the high tap. I also flipped my light on by accident. Alright, anyway, this is the high tap. I'm not even going to hook a hot radio up to this because this thing is jamming. 1,000 watts. 400 bird. That's 15.6 volts. This thing is rocking and rolling. If you can get 400 bird out of a 5-pill with a 4-watt radio, you know you're doing something good. I don't see it all the time, but I have had a handful of 5-pills on the bench that would do it. Sometimes I got to hit it with a little bit more drive to get that 400 bird out of it, but I have built a few 5-pills that would do 400 bird, 100 watts per transistor with a 4-watt drive, RMS we're talking about, and a 1,000 watts PEP. And keep in mind, I'm only driving it with about 20 watts PEP with the bench radio, which is up under here on the bottom. New radio, may I add, thanks to Mr. Rattlesnake out there in Stockbridge, Georgia. That right there is what I like to call a donation to the G-Keeper, the Gatekeeper. Mad blessing, man. Thank you so much there, Rattlesnake. And this is how you know when you got an amplifier that's balanced. Look at this. Somebody has put a 1-watt resistor out here, and it don't look like it's ever been blown. I can tell there's different transistors in here, so it looks like something's been blown, but anyway, it's not getting warm either, so everything is perfectly balanced. That's just there to blow anyway if something ever goes wrong or you got an imbalance. But this thing is working, man. I'm gonna go ahead and solder your fan back into place. It was a cold solder too, but you may have had that unsoldered, I don't know. You can tell this is an old amp. I don't know where these cases come from. These could have came from Fatboy back in the days, I don't know. Sometimes I do see these cases which are identical to the one that Fatboy does offer now, but they have no coating, clear coat on it or anything. But anyway, man, glad to get this thing up and running for you. Of course, the used Toshibas are a little costly right now, but and they're not going to get any cheaper, I tell you that. But I'm definitely not going to rob you blind like some other people out here are doing, charging $100 for a used Toshiba. That's not me. I'm boycotting RF parts. Yes, they've went up to $208 or whatever. Not me. That is a non-dot, by the way, as you can see. I didn't have any dots. Alright, man. Mr. Chainsaw, appreciate your patience, brother. On to the next project.